Hello, everyone. It's Jimmy Cultists, back again with another tutorial, Dreams tutorial. Today we're going to be doing a third-person archer setup. So I guess if you're making like The Last of Us or something like Breath of the Wild, you know, this is one way you could do it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to label our puppet as a friend. Second thing we're going to do is go to this, turn that off. Set these to 25%, acceleration and deceleration. Turn off auto look. And we're going to go to our puppet's normal walk. Set him to 5 on his running speed. But with the normal walk, you want to really cut down on bounciness a lot. As much as possible. And sway and sassiness and limberness. Get rid of those. I suppose we could leave the arms the same. And we're going to make the turn radius to, the turn speed, 250. That should do it nicely for that. Open this up, delete these. Take out a tag. This is going to be important later. We're going to label this cam mount. It's going to act as the mount for our camera. So you're going to want to position it near the middle of the puppet. Probably about here, I'm thinking. Near the waist, because that's where we're going to pivot the puppet when it's aiming. Alright then. And we're going to have to make a bow, which should be a relatively simple process. Set to mirror. And we're going to take 2 of these things. Not sure how big it's going to be, but we'll see. Anyway, that should do it. Make these a bit smaller. It's a very basic sculpt. Get it nice and straight there. Copy this out, delete these, and these are going to act as a bowstring, or this is going to act as a bowstring. Now we're going to take out a simple block, make it dark blue, stamp it out, reduce detail because it won't be visible, make it non-collidable and invisible. Now we're going to preview invisibility. We're going to go ahead and stick that right here. About in the middle. Leave it there for now. Also, we're gonna go ahead and take all this stuff and scope out of the puppet. It's probably not a good idea to have it scoped into the puppet just for later on. Could get confusing, so we're gonna make an arrow real quick. Just make an upright cylinder, like so. It's gonna be a very basic arrow. Stretch it out. And there's probably better ways to make arrowheads, but we're only doing this for demonstration purposes. Next, just put on kaleidoscope, put it on 3. We're going to narrow these down some. That should do a good job of resembling fletching on an arrow. Don't want it to be too big. We're going to copy this out. Move it to right about here. Make the arrow non-collidable. Put a tag on here. Should do nicely, and then we're going to put a little selector and a zone, a trigger zone. Make it so it doesn't collide with friends or unlabeled. Everything else you can leave on, though. And we're going to make it a square. That should do it. Now we're going to take out a simple mover. Set this to 100%. Set the speed to 25. Local space on. And it's in the right position, so that should work just fine. Now take the A output, and of course stick it in the power of the mover. Alright, I think that's all we really need to do. Now we're going to take the floor and label it as scenery. It's going to act as our test. Alright, the arrow stops when it collides, so that's good. Alright, so next thing we want to do is we want to group, we already have done that. We want to cut these two things in half. If it's not precisely in the center, it doesn't matter because you can easily correct it with the stretch tool. That should do it. We're going to do the same thing with the bowstring. Get it as much on center as is possible. It's going to be important later. Go ahead and pull these two things in. And we're going to go ahead and take out a little bolt. Stretch this out. set these so that they're 100% springing. And also we want to make all of this stuff non-collidable, as always. So we're going to copy out the arrow, ungroup it, move the arrow over, but this should do nicely. I think we're in position. We're going to group those together, the box and the two strings. Then we're going to group these two sides of the bow, and we're going to take all three of these, the whole kit and caboodle, and group them all together. So that's how you're going to want to set that up. And we're going to go ahead and attach them to our puppet. Just scope in with the whole group. Now exactly how big you want your bow to be is kind of up to you. I'm going to go for one that's just a little bit smaller. Oh, I forgot. There's one step we have missed. Let's go back and undo that. Before you even start, you're going to want to go in here with a key frame and get your bow stretched back position. Now, why do it here, you may ask, and not wait till it's scoped into the puppet? Well, there's a very basic reason that when your puppet's aiming, it may not be perfectly easy to use grid snap and all these different things. Since it's all pretty level right now, it's going to be really easy to adjust the position. So you want to do it while you still can, essentially. Although we probably will be adjusting it later. It's just nice to have this as a basic, setup. I'm going to go ahead and delete the movement we added there and just add it within the cube. And shrink that down just a little bit. But that's going to be our bow position. Now we're going to get the arrow position. We're going to turn these two things on so that we can view the difference. Also, this should be invisible. This also should be invisible. Pull the arrow back to about here. That's a good position. Our arrow might be too long. I'm going to go ahead and shrink it down just a little bit. That's better. Now that we have these two positions, it's going to be easier later on. Just leave them there for now. And we're going to take the whole bow and copy it. L1, R2, and X, I believe. Scope in. Group. It's about the position we're going to want. Next thing we're going to want to do... Actually, we could just copy this, since it's about the right size. We're going to add one little distinction to this brick to make it different from the others. This will help us later when we're aiming, but essentially this is going to be our little camera. If you watched our third-person video, this may look a bit familiar. It serves essentially the same purpose. Have it more on center there. Label this cam. Invisible, don't want it showing up. Stamp out 2 nodes, make them white. This one we're going to label L1. This one we're going to label R1. You can go ahead and go to our controller logic right here and hook these up, because basically that's what they're going to be. Take out a NOT gate. This is going to be important later. Hook this up. Take out a selector. Take the NOT gate, hook it into the A input. Take the output from L1 and hook it into the B input of the NOT gate. Take out a chip. This is going to be our camera chip. Just take the B output, hook it up to the power. Pull this up just a little bit. And next thing we're going to do is put out a teleporter. Set it to match target orientation and set it to follow cam mount, which is the tag we had set up previously. There you can see it's going to go right into position as intended. You might move this back just a little bit. Want more toward the center of the puppet. And we're going to do 2 things in here. We're going to put this out. And we're going to name it Rotation Off. And that's going to be used later. It won't be used right now. This one is going to be used sooner, this next little keyframe. We're going to turn off the animations. Turn off the arm flail. Make it blue so you can tell the difference. Animation off is what we're going to label it. Set it to powered on. Then we're going to add our little camera, which this is going to denote, you know, when we're aiming the bow. You can set it to blend, transition time really low, smooth, transition time 0.3, or you can set it to cut, and you can turn off imps, but don't turn off controller sensor input, or else you won't be able to do anything. Now that that's all taken care of, we can move on to our second phase of operation. Let's go to the first-person puppet that Media Molecule has made. And you can make all this gadgetry yourself, but it's much easier just to go ahead and take it, because they remap the thresholds in case you want to have reverse controls, which some people prefer. And after we copy that, we're just going to go ahead and delete this. And we're going to take a look in here. and begin hooking up all of our various gadgetry. Now, one thing we're going to hook up right away is the right stick local, which is already handily labeled. And here's what you're going to want if you want to remap the thresholds to invert the Y controls, you know. And we're going to take this rotator and place it right on the puppet, since it's going to be rotating the puppet and not the camera base. And the reticle's something that we don't really have to mess with much. I might make it a little brighter, that's about it. And there's one other thing we're going to want to do in the camera controls. We're going to take out a switch. This isn't going to be immediately useful, but it will be later. We also want L1 to turn on that switch. It's going to be important later. And we're going to copy this and stick it right on here. Set it to sustain. And we're going to delete these because they aren't necessary. We have a copy. And this is going to control our bowman's pose. Speaking of the bowman's pose, we might as well get that out of the way. If you want, you can use actual archers as references. That's always a good idea, but I'm just going to do it by eye in this case. Now, you're not don't rotate the middle or anything else but this upper torso. And that'll be important later. Besides, you won't really see the lower torso on camera if you have things rigged up properly. But that's about right. And there's lots of different ways you can do this. I think I'm messing around with this arm too much, but this will do. This is an archer's pose. Gonna turn it on, and we're gonna label it pose. And we'll get back to this later. For now, what we're gonna do is this controls the pitch of our character. This is gonna control how he aims. And we're just gonna move this midsection. We're not gonna move the upper torso or anything else. And of course, this looks rather funky, you know, from this perspective, but in-game, when the camera's on, you won't really see the difference. I mean, you might see it a little bit, but it's not a really big price to pay for having a good archery setup. Alright, and we're going to put this here. I just set it to linear blend. Don't put any animations on it, just leave it fresh. That's going to help center your bow when it's not being used. Alright, so the next thing we're going to want to do is pitch the camera. Set it to linear blend. And of course, set this little fella in the middle here. Set this one on the outside. Let's get our camera in place. Just press play real quick if you want to see the position it will be in. And we're going to go to the tag while in the keyframe, and we're going to animate this tilt. And that's how we're going to do our camera rotation. In the early days of Dreams, this completely eluded me how to accomplish this effect, so it's really nice to know now how that's done. Alright. I don't think there's anything else that we need to do. It's pretty much all for the camera pitch and controls. The other thing we need to do, which is somewhat less important, well actually it's just as important, but might take a little bit more time to get it sorted out. Place down this tag, and this is going to be our actual bow controls, which allows us to shoot it. Open this up, and we're going to go ahead and stamp this out. Set it to about 2. This is a little timer. Set it to positional. And stick a little node into its start timer input. And R1 is what we're going to use to control this. Now let's see what we got going on. Oh, by the way, inside of the camera controls, go ahead and take this switch and connect it to the power of this camera pitch. That way we can easily shut off those parameters if we want to, by just shutting off this switch. Alright. Take out a node, and take out timer input and put it into the node. This is going to be our bow draw. Just going to call it draw, set it to sustain. You can also set it to play once, but yeah, maybe we'll set it to play once. We'll see how that works. And then we're going to open this up and just stick this wire into the playhead. Now we should be able to, with the right animations and such, we should be able to construct our little doohickey. I'm going to go ahead and put this switch down in advance because we're going to need it later. But this is where you're going to want to put your pose. Of course, this is the pose when the bow is fully drawn, so go ahead and copy it and set these to linear. This is going to be your pose when the bow is not being used. Speaking of which, we'll need these too. Go ahead and copy them. Set them to linear blend. But these are going to be the animations when the bow is not in use. Now something's not going right there. Okay, we have a little bit of a predicament, but it shouldn't be too hard to solve. I'm not sure how this occurred, but it's pretty wasteful. Basically ruined our entire setup for that animation, but we'll just go ahead and correct it ourselves. We may need to remap these animations. Yes, we'll have to remap them. Just scope into the right one. It may be kind of easy, you just have to, you know, pull them out correctly. I don't know how it even happened in the first place. It might be one of Dreams' oddball glitches. There are a few of those. Alright, now we've got it remapped. So this is the bow's basic setting when it's not being used. And I really don't even know what happened there either. We're gonna have to reset it again. Alright, I think we actually got it in place now. Now let's go to the arrow, and we're going to reset that. Oh, it's not even pulled back. Pulled back there. Well, that's good. Now that that's done, essentially this is going to be our, our ability to pull the bow backwards. So let's animate drawing the string. I also might animate it slightly being turned this way. And we'll pull the arrow back just a little bit, of course. Put this little keyframe on here, and then what I'm going to call this is turn off the power and turn it on with the keyframe. It's going to be arrow visibility, or just arrow viz for short. Now we're going to take a little brief look at this and see if it all plays the way it's supposed to. Bit slow, but we're getting the animation in there. Also, the camera is way too far out. We'll do 0.4, that's probably a little bit more realistic. Also, I'm going to go ahead and make the puppet have forced possession just to speed things up. I want to pull that arm down, it's a bit in the way. Alright, that should do it. Could be a bit smoother, but we'll just let it lie for now. Alright, next thing we're gonna want to do, now that we've got this all taken care of, is copy this out and delete these. Stick that right on there. And basically, this is going to be controlled by, what do you call it? It's going to shut off these animations when it's necessary. One other tiny thing. Take out a switch, put it right there, make it red. This is going to trigger our ability when we're able to shoot. Should be rather simple if we're doing this correctly. And now we're going to take out our little thing, which is going to do all the processing for us. And we're going to name it Processor. Oh, well, Dreams censors the word processor, so let's call it Pro-Sex. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that works. That's not offensive. Alright, so just take out a node. This is going to be L1. Actually, we could just copy those nodes from earlier since they are going to be used, I think. Well, not this one, but the L1 is going to be used. And we're going to make this one red. This one's just going to be normal orange. You could make it green, potentially. And we're going to put this in here, into this NOT gate. And we're going to have to take out another NOT gate, put it down here. This is a little bit confusing, but it'll all make sense later. Put that there, hook this up, put this into the power. There's probably a less complicated way of doing this, but I'm not aware of it, whatever it may be. It's probably some kind of gadget that does this same process without me knowing it. Put the red cord in the red node, very simple, back in the draw timeline that we created earlier. And we're going to hook up L1 to that. At least I think it's L1. Seems to be working. And we're going to do our second little process, which is the shooting process. And we're going to take out a handy-dandy little node. And I believe this is going to look kind of similar to what we did before. Except we're going to set it to play once. Oh, we already did set it to play once. And I believe that this up here hooks in. Maybe not. I think it does hook in. And we're going to be doing something in reverse, where we put the full back phase right about at the beginning. And this is going to be us releasing the bowstring. Don't forget to put on precise move. This should give the effect of the bowstring snapping back. And then we'll just go back to the arrow. I think it's the arrow. I don't know why I labeled that string. It's technically the arrow, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Take the arrow visibility, set it to about here. Set this to 200%. And we'll go ahead and take the neutral, these first neutral animations, copy them out and make them the ending animations. We're also going to want to take out another keyframe, which is going to shut off the former animations and make sure they don't interrupt. Okay, just label it off. And that should do it, I think. Oh, and take out a green switch. What this is going to do is go back to process, and we'll put it in that node. And I believe we'll also need an emitter to emit our arrow, which may not be in the proper position, but who cares? We're also going to have to shrink our arrow down quite a bit, considering our, you know, we did a lot of resizing. But it shouldn't be too hard. Just shrink it down. It's approximately the right size. We can even put it in a similar position to give the illusion of following the same pathway. Going to make the lifetime 5 seconds, and the limit will be 5, maybe. Let's make it 6. Emit once. Pull this over here so it doesn't get in the way later. And we're going to do a little test. This might not work immediately, but they never do they? Alright, that's not supposed to be happening. Seems to be automatically playing when it's not supposed to. I think I know what it is, though. This is probably supposed to be R1 and not L1. Alright. Trying to think if there's anything else that we have left out of the equation. Oh, I know what it is. the, what's it called? We haven't added the switch, which is not super important, but let's put it there anyway. And we also have made the mistake of not waiting till our camera is in position to line up the arrow's flight. Alright, that's not working as intended. But we're getting there. Alright, let's see what we could have in our notes that might... Oh yes, I remember now. You've got to reset one of these key things in here. Question is, where does the resetting go on? Oh yes, this right here has to reset that. And I think that's just about all we have to do. Are we turning that switch off? Oh right, we are turning the switch off. Oh, another thing I think we're doing wrong is, back here. Pull this back just a little bit. Alright, I think we're getting somewhere. I'm a little confused as to why this pose doesn't seem to be fully kicking in. Also, move this emitter just forward a little bit. We don't want it to interrupt the visibility of the arrow, because it looks like we're firing two arrows. But that's working pretty much like what we want. The only minor thing I can see, which baffles me, is the reason why this... Oh, I think I see now. Well, we might have to reset this animation just a little bit. But I think it'll be fine, more or less. Alright, let's go again. So there you have it. That's how you make an arrow. They're flying a bit slow, which is... You know, it's not really what you want. Also, we want this to play faster, to set it to 200%. We'll make the arrow fly 25%. That's more like what we want. The animations on the hand could be a little bit better, but that's mostly just, you know, if you know how to make these things, that's just going to be easier in general. There's also a thing where this arrow is briefly becoming visible at random times. I'm not sure what that's about. And the arrows stick in the ball and everything. That's pretty cool. Don't know why that arrow's jittering around like that. Let's go ahead and check something. Shouldn't be doing that. That is weird. I have an idea, though, what might be causing it. We're gonna put the arrow inside of a group and see if that helps any. Nope, it doesn't seem to be doing anything. I really don't know what the heck that is. It didn't show up in my tests. Oh, I think I know what it is. I figured it out. It's very simple. Alright, let's go to the arrow real quick. I'm turning off the power. The power turns off the physics. So when you make it invisible, rather than turning off the power, you probably want to go to invisibility and turn that on. Just turn it off. Alright. It's invisibility. How silly of me. Easy mistake to make. Alright, now it should be gone. There we go. It's all gone. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Oh, speaking of which, one tiny little thing we're gonna do real quick that will kind of make this just a little bit more smooth is make it so that unless you're aiming, this here is not active. So basically you'll be running around normally. Well, mostly normally. Another thing you want to do is this little rotation on thing. We're going to go back here and set these to 100%, then set them to 0, so the keyframe will be turning that on. And basically you could normally turn and behave like a regular puppet. Okay, that should be everything. Anyway, that's all I have for today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. If you wish to support our earnest insanity, you can check the links in the description to donate or buy merch. Until next time, goodbye.